Hello, and welcome back to another collection showcase where I'm going to be showing off my entire Blu-ray movie collection. I'm not going to lump TV shows into this. I'll just save that for when I go to show off all the rest of my TV show collection. So yes, now I know I have shown off, done a good few videos showing off my entire Blu-ray collection in the past. In 2022, twice in 2022, I think, and then once in 2023 and once at the beginning of last year as well. I can't remember the exact details, so I think it was 2022, 2023, and 2024. But this is the definitive one now. Like those that have been taken down, and after this gets uploaded, I won't be doing one of these collection showcases again. So that's why I'm doing these unedited showcases. So the past 2 weeks I've done Star Trek and Doctor Who. Doctor Who was the first one that I've done. That was 2 hours. Star Trek, surprisingly enough, when it came in at an hour and 42 minutes. I thought that would have came in a longer. But anyway, enough riff-raffing. Let's dive into the Blu-ray side of my collection. Now, there will be some movies that I'll be going into more details on, and it'll be like some editions, like special editions that I have that'll on steelbooks that I have that I'll also spend quite a bit of time on. With that being said, let's dive in. I have my Blu-ray selection collection split into two parts. Part one, which is what I'm going to be showing off here, is movies that I have seen. Then we'll get into movies that I haven't seen, and that's where I'm just going to rapid fire through them because I don't have a lot really to say in regards to those. Starting off in alphabetical and numerical order is the only James Bond film I've ever seen in full, and that is No Time to Die. I went to go see this when it came out during the pandemic with my cousin for his birthday. This is what he wanted to go see, and I enjoyed it. As a non-James Bond fan, I enjoyed it. It's weird seeing Robbie Malek playing the villain, because I just look at him and I see that's Freddie Mercury, so I can't really take him too seriously as a villain. But that's just me. This is a 2-disc special edition. Those are the bonus features there. I'll just put that off to the side. A severely, massively underrated film, in my honest opinion, and one of my favorite animated films of all time, is 9. I have done a review of this as one of my early scripted reviews. And it was, I've done a few YouTube shorts about it as well, because it's just that great, and they were teasing a sequel back in 2015, where an old Facebook page that was designed for the purposes to promote this movie suddenly reactivated and started to post some things about it, and then nothing. We've heard nothing as well. There's also supposed to be a video game based on this, but it got scrapped, and the fact that there's only really 9 voice actors in the entire film, give or take, is amazing. It's definitely a massively underrated gem, and I love it. And I'm probably due for a rewatch since it's been now a few years. Next is Tom Scott's Ridgeroll. He's a YouTuber, sketch comedy. Favorite movie of all time, and that is 17 Again. I watched it just to see if what he said was true, because he claims this to be the greatest movie of all time, or at least his favorite movie of all time being this. And it's a good movie. I definitely had a lot of fun with this, watching it. Because this is definitely early in Zac Efron's career, post High School Musical 1. I'm happy that I've watched it. Next is a random film that I watched on Netflix, and that was 21 and Over. Comes with this slip. And I haven't seen it in in years, so I'll definitely need to give it a rewatch. But from when I watched it, I enjoyed it. Next is going to come a controversial opinion. So I have Aliens on Blu-ray, and it's the only one that I own on physical media. And that is because, 2023, I did a review of both Alien and Aliens, and I hated Alien, loved Aliens, and really enjoyed Alien 3. So I will be continuing down the franchise at some point. But now we're going to get into some Marvel movies, so I'm going to quick fire through these. So we have Avengers Assembled. We have Age of Ultron, which I enjoy a lot more than a lot of people do. I thought it was a good movie. Just it would have been a lot better if it wasn't Ultron. Given the fact that Ultron's this ultimate powerful computer, and yet he gets stopped in this movie. That's the one issue that I do have with the Marvel movies, is the fact that they introduce a villain and then just kill him off in the same movie. That's not they're running out of villains and stuff like that. But anyway, Infinity War. I have not seen every movie in the MCU. I've glossed over a few, definitely for phases 1, 2, and 3. Like I watched them out of order. I watched Infinity War and Endgame before I went and watched any of the other stuff. Now, granted, prior to that, I had watched the first Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and I've seen bits of Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2. But yeah, then I also have Ant-Man, a film that I really, really enjoyed when I watched it. I thought I really enjoyed it. And especially, I really enjoyed Ant-Man and the Wasp. I don't have Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I thought I did, but I guess I don't. But if I did, I would say that I enjoyed it when I seen it in cinema. Granted, I haven't rewatched it since. So my opinions may have shifted on that. Next is AI, artificial intelligence. Now, this movie, I have a story with this, and I say it every time I show it off. So if you know the story, then you know the story. But there's a few films that I remember watching on RTE, which is our Irish version of the BBC, essentially. And I remember watching a few random films, and they've all become, some of my absolute favorites. I can actually just balance it there like so. That being this movie, which I forgot of the name of for years and years and years and years. I remembered bits and pieces of it, but I just could not remember the name of the movie. And the other ones were Bicentennial Man, The Fifth Element, and there might have been like one or two others. And so it wasn't until the second time I was on Pete's channel, Playtendo Guy, for a live stream, and this movie got brought up, and I remember thinking, this sounds like the movie I was thinking about, and I did mention on stream, but I couldn't remember the name of it until the next day. I looked at a trailer for it. I was like, that's the movie. That's the one that I been looking for years. And funny enough, there were multiple times where I could have bought the Blu-ray of it. Looking back at the old live DVD and Blu-ray hunting videos, but I got this one on Amazon, and so I seen that they had a DVD copy, and I went down straight away and I got it and I rewatched it and I love it, and it's one of my favorite movies. So yeah, next is one of the parody movies, and that is A Haunted House. I love this, and I love the second one. I love the second one that bit more because that was the first one that I seen. But I will probably cover this at Halloween. So that's why I'm not going to say too much about it. Like, I know I'm doing this at the start of technically I'm doing this at the end of 2024. But yeah, next is probably my favorite movie interpretation of this, and that is A Christmas Carol, a Robert Zemeckis film. He done the Polar Express as well as the Back to the Future movies, which we're about to get to. I absolutely love and adored this version. I refer to it as the Jim Carrey's A Christmas Carol, and it was again we're talking start of my channel 2021 when Christmas time of 2021 when I did a review for this. This was originally going to be the first Christmas special that I'd done. But then I opted to do a review for the Doctor Who A Christmas Carol, which is my favorite version of A Christmas Carol. But yeah, so I don't like A Muppets Christmas Carol. I watched it, I have reviewed it, it's just not for me. Next we have A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original A Nightmare on Elm Street. I watched this for the very first time back in 2022. Just on my own accord on Halloween of 2022. Didn't review it, and I enjoyed it. I really did. Like, I get why a lot of people love that movie, and I'm kicking myself for how long it took me to get around to it. Next is another Marvel movie, yeah, because this is technically a Marvel comic, and that is Big Hero 6. A film that I absolutely loved when I watched it. 2016, yeah, I haven't gone back to it since. Even though I say I love the movie, I just I'll get around to it eventually. Next is Boys in the Hood. This movie is absolutely fucking amazing. I love it. I really do. This was another one like 21 and Over. I stumbled across randomly by accident on Netflix. And I watched it, and I loved it, and I have yet to rewatch it. It's been that long since I've watched it. I was definitely in my teenage years for that one, and absolutely phenomenal film, and I'm very happy to have it in my collection, and I'm definitely going to need to review it at some point this year, because it has been a number of years. Next is a trilogy box set for Back to the Future. Yes, I love this franchise. I absolutely love and adore this franchise. And I reviewed this last November for Trilogy Month. It was one of the first trilogies that I'd done. So we have Back to the Future Part 3, which is my favorite of the trilogy. Back to the Future Part 2, not the best. And then Back to the Future, the original, which is absolutely amazing. So we have some disc art on that one. Let's see, do we have art on disc 2? We do. And then disc 3. So yeah, I am very happy to own these. I'm glad that I got around to rewatching them because they still hold up. They're timeless movies for a reason. I'm glad that we're not going to see any more from this franchise because we don't need to be completely honest. We really don't. Next is a brilliant Irish film that came out in 2022 that had a lot of people talking about it, and I haven't rewatched it since. And that is, of course, The Banshees of Inisherin. And yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I think I've watched it twice. I think I watched it once or twice. But yeah, this movie is absolutely amazing. If you love In Bruges, another film that was done by the same people who worked on this, you will love this. So yeah, I definitely do want to give that another watch through at some point. Getting to the last two for stack number 1, we have Brother Bear 2. I'm missing Brother Bear 1. That is one that I definitely want to get for my collection, because I remember renting these as a kid from, I want to say, Chartbusters or Extravision. I think it might have been Extravision. But yeah, absolutely love these two movies. And then the last one for this stack is another Marvel movie, and that is Black Panther. I really enjoyed this movie, except for the big CGI fight scene towards the end of the movie. That looked really, really bad. But aside from that, it's a good movie, and I especially love Wakanda Forever, which is one that I'm not sure that I don't think I own Wakanda Forever. But we shall find out once I go grab another stack. Okay, time to get on to stack number 2 of alcove, because the alcove are 3 deep. So yeah, we have Batman Forever. The Val Kilmer Batman movie with Jim Carrey, which I have seen. Is again another one of those that I remember watching on RTE as a kid, and I really enjoyed it. But then again, I don't have many more memories after that. Like it's vague memories. I don't think I've seen it in full. So that is definitely going to be some that I get back to. So sticking Batman themed, we do have Batman Begins, which is something that I reviewed last May for the second ever trilogy month, and I absolutely loved it. And then of course, following that up, I do have The Dark Knight, specifically the 2-disc special edition. And after watching this, I see why everybody loves Heath Ledger's Joker. So yeah, this is definitely like my favorite out of the trilogy. But I loved all 3 of them. Now, I did have The Dark Knight Rise. However, my copy just would not work. For whatever reason, every time I brought it down to CEX to get them to clean it, it still just would not work. So moving on to Be Kind Rewind, a often forgotten film with Jack Black. And because it definitely does show its age, because it's them filming for VHS at a time when DVDs were a thing. And how I watched this was see my local convenience store, co-op, or whatever you want to, corner shop, whatever you want to fucking call it. It was at the time it was called Mace. It's now called Centra. But they for a very small time did movie rentals, and so this is one that we rented. And that's how I watched it. And I haven't watched it since I was five or six. Because it was definitely early when I moved into this house. Back to some Marvel movies. I have Captain America: The First Avenger. I did not like this as much as a lot of people do. I'm going to be completely honest, I just didn't. Now, you expect me to show The Winter Soldier. However, I've not seen The Winter Soldier. However, I have seen Civil War. And I really like Civil War. My only gripe with it is the superimposed, Tony Stark head on the Iron Man suit. It just did not look right at all. It just looked clunky, and I hate it. They definitely could have, given more time for the CG to be, that bit better, or, just fucking have him in a suit. But anyway, moving on to Corpse Bride, a film that I fucking love and adore, and it is far superior than A Nightmare Before Christmas. And I know that's just upset a lot of people, like, oh, A Nightmare Before Christmas, Jack Skeleton, blah, blah, blah. I don't give two shits. It's a shit movie. This, however, is not a shit movie. This is definitely top 10 favorite animated movies of all time. Corpse Bride is just a far superior movie than The Nightmare Before Christmas. And you can dislike the video all you like on that one, but I'm sticking to my guns on that one. I prefer Corpse Bride. Next up is Catch Me If You Can, based on a true story that might not be true, actually. I keep hearing things that the person that this is based off of is Frank Abnegale. Apparently a lot of that stuff might have been made up, and I just realized I never put the disc in the tray from buying it whenever I bought it. But yeah, aside from that, it's a really great movie. It's a really great movie. Next we have The Cirque du Freak, The Vampire's Assistant. This is a movie based on the first 3 Darren Shan books, known as the Cirque Saga, and the Saga of Darren Shan being the Cirque du Freak, the Vampire's Assistant, and Tunnels of Blood. A franchise that I'm going to be, book series that I'm going to be rereading and reviewing at some point this year. And I love this movie. I made a video saying that I'm finally allowing myself to love this movie. The author of the book series, Darren Shan himself, seen it and tweeted about it, and even wrote a little article for his website about it, which was really fucking cool. And yeah, I definitely absolutely love this movie. The actor that they got to play Darren, spot on. John C. Reilly as Laurentine Crapsley, fucking amazing. And you know, there's interview footage of John C. Reilly talking about how he really wanted to portray Laurentine like the books, for his mannerisms of how he talked. But of course, studio interference. Stop me if you've heard that one before. But yeah, aside from that, you know, aside from the fact that it's not like one-to-one with the books, I enjoy it. I have a fun time with it, and I'm probably gonna be due a rewatch of that when I go to reread the books. Next is a funny film, Cockneys vs. Zombie, which I did do a review of in 2023. Next up we have probably the first Tarantino film I've seen, in full anyway, and that is Django Unchained, a absolutely phenomenal movie. Next is the first movie in the Divergent series. An ex of mine put me on to this, and I enjoyed it. When I first watched it back in 2017, so I might need to give him another rewatch. One that I definitely watched for the very first time this year is Dodgeball, because I know this is getting a sequel at some point, as because everybody loves this movie as one of their favorite comedies, and I see why now. For the longest time since I hadn't seen it, I was like, I got put off of it with how much people were, you know, gassing it up. But now that I've watched it, yeah, I do see why. Now we're back into some Marvel movies with a trilogy, that being Deadpool. Now, I actually saved this slipcover from being thrown out from CEX because they tend to do it. Now, mine is a red case for Deadpool, and apparently it's hard to find a Deadpool case that isn't red and is in fact a standard blue case. Then of course I have Deadpool 2, which is another slipcover that I saved from being thrown out. And then lastly, of course, is the most recent one, and that is Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, I haven't seen it since I've seen this in cinema, but my ranking would be, this is the best, followed by Deadpool 2, and then lastly, Deadpool. Now, they're all amazing films in their own right, but the day before going to see Deadpool and Wolverine, I did rewatch Deadpool 1 and 2, so I was going into it with a fresh perspective, which is why I say Deadpool and Wolverine is the superior one. But again, whenever I go to do a rewatch of them, my opinions may change. Getting to the end of stack number 2 here, we do have Dracula Untold, a amazing and highly underrated movie that was supposed to again kickstart off the monster universe, but it didn't. Like, I remember actually going to see this in cinema and really enjoying it, and then when I rewatched it for a second time for a now privated video, I really enjoyed it. Now we're getting on to some Dragon Ball movies. Yes, as you might know, I'm a big anime fan from time to time, and one of the big franchises that I love and adore is Dragon Ball. So I do have some of the movies on Blu-ray, starting off with a triple pack of the DBZ, Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan, Broly Second Coming, and Bio Broly, which I did cover for the second ever trilogy month. So yeah, they're okay, but compared to the Dragon Ball Super Broly, they're not as great. But yeah, I still enjoy them. I still enjoy the first one. Broly Second Coming is okay, but Bio Broly is the worst one. Speaking of the worst one, Dragon Ball Evolution. I forced myself to rewatch this in 2023. And hate myself for doing that because it sucks. There's a reason it sucks, and you fucked up when, because last March, the creator of Dragon Ball, Mr. Akira Toriyama, passed away. But the actor who played Goku in this, he tweeted out saying rest in peace, and that he's sorry that they made such a shitty movie, and the actor who played Piccolo, which is the actor who plays Spike in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, has voiced an actual character in Dragon Ball Super. He played Zamasu under a pseudonym, but obviously people now know it's him. But yeah, even the writer of the movie came out and apologized for how bad it was. Getting into some good shit now, we do have Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, which I did do a review of, and I absolutely still love it. It's still amazing. No notes. It's what kicked back the renaissance of Dragon Ball. Then we have Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F. I went for the alt cover. It's okay. Like, it's not as great as it was, and especially when Super fucking recap the arc, it sucked. But one of my favorite, probably is my favorite Dragon Ball movie of all time, is Dragon Ball Super Broly. The art, the animation, the fact that they made Broly canon, and just the fight. I've often come back to the fight scene, the beginning fight scene between Goku, Vegeta, and Broly, just because of how clean it is, as a fight, and it's just, it's wonderful. It is absolutely wonderful. And that's it for stack number 2. It's time for me to go grab stack number 3. Okay, the first steelbook for this video goes to Dragon Ball Superhero. This, I remember having issues going to see when it first came out, because I went to go see it the day of, and I went to the very, very first showing. They could not get it to work for whatever reason. So I got a refund on the ticket, but not the popcorn and the drink that I had bought. So that was kind of a waste of money. To be fair to them, they did offer for me to come back for another showing. I was just being a little bitch, and I was like, no, I'd rather, I wanted to watch it there and then. But yeah, then eventually for World Cinema Day that year, I did go to see it. And then, of course, in the Dragon Ball Super manga, they expanded on this a bit. So this was a pretty cheap pickup. I think I paid like €15 for it. I haven't seen it since, because, of course, I read the manga interpretation of it. So yeah, but I did do a review of it, which I have taken down because I want to do another review and take another whack at it. That is a hair. So I've kept the J card, obviously. So here is a look at the front, which is Beast Gohan, one of the new transformations. The same with Orange Piccolo on the back. And then, of course, the spine says is the movie Dragon Ball Superhero. And so opening it up, we have Orange Piccolo there, but on side 1 here, we have Broly, Goku, Vegeta, Bulma, Android 18, and Krillin. And then when I take the Blu-ray out, on the opposite side, we have Piccolo, Gohan, Trunks, Goten, and Pan. So yeah, I was iffy about the full 3D animation that they done for this movie. I'm not gonna lie. I, like a lot of Dragon Ball fans, I was very skeptical about it. But when I actually sat down to watch it, it didn't bother me. I got used to it and actually enjoyed the film. So I'll definitely do want to give it another rewatch at some point, just to see how I feel. about it now. But again, I do want to give it a little bit more breathing room, because of the manga. Did cover it, so it's still somewhat fresh in my mind, unlike the movies. But again, jumping back into the MCU here, we have Doctor Strange, obviously with this little bit of tatty slipcover. So there it is, like so. I probably will just keep the slip for the moment. If I can get it back into the slip. There we go. I enjoyed it. Haven't watched it since I first seen it in cinema. So I definitely need to do that again. But one that I really enjoyed that not a lot of people did, and that is the Multiverse of Madness. Yeah, I severely enjoyed this movie. I thought it was great. I enjoyed it a lot. The same with Wakanda Forever. I thought it was really, really great. But I see not a lot of people liked it. Going back to the Divergent series, we do have Insurgent. Again, not really much to talk about. However, this next one is Die Hard. Now, we're going to get this off the bat. No, it is not a Christmas movie. Shut up. The second thing, I only watched this for the very first time in 2023, because this was what I promised for my 400 subscriber special. That when I hit 400 subscribers, that I would sit down, watch, and review it, because I was of the held belief that I would not like this. Obviously, I liked it because I now own it on Blu-ray, and it does have disc art, and I do want to watch the others at some point as well. So yeah. Next up is my fourth favorite movie of all time, and that is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and my second favorite Jim Carrey movie. I absolutely love and adore this movie. You do need to watch this twice, because it is that much of a mind fuck. And yeah, the second time that I watched this movie was when I did my review for it. And I caught a lot of this stuff that I missed the first time round. Next up is the first thing that I reviewed in the Tales from My Backlog series, and that is Elvis. Haven't watched it since it came out, and I enjoyed it. The first hour, however, I did not like, because it's just constantly, running through everything really, really quickly. But when it takes its time to slow down, that's when it gets good. However, I did not like Tom Hanks in this movie. I think this is probably one of his worst performances. I just really did not like it. Moving on to Finding Nemo, a film that I absolutely loved when it came out in cinema, because I was, of course, the right age for that. And I haven't seen it in a number of years, so I definitely want to get back amongst that. However, the sequel that I got, Finding Dory, I despise. So then why do you own it, Michael? Because I'm a completionist, that's why. And I want to give it another shot at some point, but I really did not like this when I first watched it. I still think it is massively unnecessary for a sequel. It just wasn't great whatsoever. Speaking of The Fifth Element, I know that was at the very beginning. I do own it on Blu-ray, and it is one that I definitely need to review at some point this year, because again, I can't remember if I've seen it in full or if I've only seen bits and pieces when I was a kid. But it's definitely one that I need to cover. Now, my favorite horror franchise. I'm not a horror guy. There's only a few things that I like. This franchise being one of them, and that is the Final Destination movies, because I'm really looking forward to the new one that's coming out this year. So, of course, we have Final Destination, which was another one of those that I watched on RTE. I seen the decapitation scene, after the train hit the car, and then the very ending of the movie. And then it was years later that I watched my favorite in the franchise, that that made me go and watch them. The second one is definitely better than the first, but like I said, it's not my absolute favorite. I would say it is my second favorite. My absolute favorite, and it's the one that properly got me into the franchise, is Final Destination 3, which was last year's Halloween special. I absolutely love this movie. It's fucking great and phenomenal. I just really enjoy it. However, Final Destination, or The Final Destination, or Final Destination 4, how could the person who directed this direct such a masterpiece with Final Destination 2 and then end up directing such a motherfucking dumpster fire of a movie? Like, dear God, this is the worst one. So mine is the 3D version, but cool thing about it is the 3D glasses that it comes with is the old school 3D glasses. Remember these? Yeah, and these are still sealed because it comes with a 3D and 2D version of the movie. And these will remain sealed. I'm not going to open them at all because they're just so nostalgic for me, not like the modern stuff. But then as well, I do have Final Destination 5, which I did enjoy. Next up, I'm lumping these going to lump these when I get the other two in with the movies. Like, I know it's seen as a special, an episode special, but it's based off of movies. I'm counting it as a movie, and that is Family Guy, It's a Trap. This specifically is the triple play edition, which is a big massive box set that I got for €10. And it is 100% complete. So removing the big outer box here. So there's that side, then there's the back, and then opening it up, we of course get, the iconic poster for Return of the Jedi. And then we have a scene of Luke getting electrocuted, and then we have the digital copy of the movie as well as the Blu-ray there. And then opening up this further, we have some stuff still sealed. Let me just tilt this down. So I still have the trading cards that it comes with. They are still sealed. They have never ever been opened. I have no intention of opening them. So this is where it's going to remain. We also have a signed script. Now, obviously, that isn't like proper ink signed. It's just like printed on, but it is the script for the movie with some art to go with it. And then lastly, it still has the T-shirt that it comes with, which is a medium, which I'm way too big for that, but it's still sealed, and it's gonna again remain sealed, like with the trading cards. So yeah, that's basically a list of what it comes with in the back. It's a Trap T-shirt, illustrated script, and 9 exclusive collector cards. So yeah, I'm happy to have that in the collection. Getting down to the end of the first alcove here, we have the first of the Fantastic Beasts movies, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I love this. I love the first two movies. I really did. I didn't so much mind Secrets of Dumbledore. It wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad. But I just wish, Johnny Depp had continued on as Grindelwald, because I think he was far, far better than Mads Mikkelsen. But I absolutely love and adore the first movie for sure. And I definitely enjoyed Crimes of Grindelwald, which I do want to get my hands on at some point. Next is the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I was so gassed that this finally actually came out after being in development hell for so long. I went to go see it when it came out, because it came out 2 days early, because it was also going into cinema, but also be streamed on Peacock. I believe it's no longer on Peacock. But yeah, I went to go see it 2 days before it came out, and then the day it came out, I was with 2 friends, and I showed it to them. One who was a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, another person who wasn't, and they both loved it. So I have, of course, seen this twice, and I fucking love it. Going to Marvel, again, we have Fantastic Four, The Rise of the Silver Surfer. I grew up on this and the first one. I do want to get my hands on the first one. I just haven't had the opportunity to yet. And then the last one for this stack is Gremlins, which I absolutely loved. It's a really great Christmas horror movie. Because I watched this in 2022 for the first time, and as a creature feature, it's pretty good. And that is going to wrap up stack number 1, which means I now need to go put these back where I got them and start to get the next stack. Okay, so on to the next alcove. Continuing on, we have more Marvel movies with the first Guardians of the Galaxy. As I'm recording this section of the video, the trailer for the new Superman movie had just come out, so that dates it to the 19th of December. And I'm looking forward to the new Superman movie. But obviously I do love the Guardians trilogy. I will probably have to do a rewatch of the entire trilogy just to see where I'll place them. But right now I only have the first and the second one. I don't think the holiday special was printed on physical, so I'd had to get a bootleg of that one. And then we have the first Ghost Rider movie, which I remember loving as a kid, but again, it's been probably over 20 years since I've seen it. Then we get to Galaxy Quest, which is a film that I watched for the very first time last year as a Tales from My Backlog, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Then, of course, we have the first Ghostbusters. Again, it's been over 20 years since I last seen this, because I definitely remember watching it when I was 3 or 4, so I'm turning 27 this year, so that just goes to show how long it has actually been. Next is Hellboy. I really enjoyed this film. Again, I watched it as a kid, so I don't remember much of it, but it does have a old GameStop sticker where it was apparently sold for new for €30. So I've kept that on there for historical reasons, because where I live in Ireland, just Ireland in general, no longer has GameStop. Yeah, they just fucked off and left us. The same with Argos. So that is unfortunate. And then, of course, I do have the sequel, The Golden Army. Then I also have the first Home Alone. I don't know if Lost in New York has its own standalone Blu-ray, or if it's only in the multi-pack. I think I've only ever seen it in form of the Blu-ray multi-pack of Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2. But yeah, I absolutely love this film. It's a great classic Christmas movie for a reason. Now we get on to the Harry Potters, which I have all of them on Blu-ray, starting, of course, with the Philosopher's Stone. And then I also, of course, then have The Chamber of Secrets, which was my childhood favorite. I also have Prisoner of Azkaban, my least favorite. And yeah, I really just do not like Prisoner of Azkaban, which I know for the Potterheads is sacrilege, because they always say this is the best one. I would disagree, but I also have the first 3 Potter movies on VHS, so whenever I do decide to rewatch them, I'll probably go for the VHS, up until, of course, I get to the Goblet of Fire, which is okay. Then we get to my favorites, being Order of the Phoenix and the Half-Blood Prince, which, in my opinion, is far superior to Prisoner of Azkaban. Now, growing up, I remember actually going to see all of these in cinema. Every year when the new Harry Potter movie would come out during the summer, my mother, when the tickets went on sale, would pre-order the tickets, so that way we would go see it day of release, like usually the very first showing. And actually, now that I mention it, it does bring back a memory of the Order of the Phoenix, because my local cinema is called the Arc Cinema. Back in the day, it was Diamond Cinema, and there was issues with the projector showing this towards the end of the movie when they're in the place with all the crystal spheres and stuff, and so then it looped back around. But yeah, so yeah, I've seen nearly all of them in cinema, except for the last two being Deathly Hallows Part 1, which is a beautiful steelbook. Bit of a spoiler though, see, because this is basically the end of the movie that it spoils here. So if you haven't seen any of the movies when you pick up the steelbook, or haven't read the books, then that is a massive, massive spoiler there. But yeah, I'm happy enough to have the steelbook. It was pretty cheap pickup as well, I believe. And then of course I do have the final movie being Deathly Hallows Part 2. So yeah, moving on to another franchise that I absolutely love, and it's getting a new book this year in March, and then I'm not sure if we're getting the movie of that this year or if it'll be next year. I'm not entirely sure, but it is the Hunger Games franchise. So I have the first Hunger Games on steelbook here. It's not my absolute favorite of the entire franchise, but I would definitely put it above Mockingjay Part 1 if we're talking movie wise. Book wise, then it'll be slightly different. Then of course I have my favorite in the franchise being Catching Fire. I think this was a massive step up from the first one, and when I bought it through CEX's website, it actually came with the J card, thankfully enough. So yeah, that's that. Unfortunately, those are the only two Hunger Games books that I own on steelbook, because then we get to Mockingjay Part 1, the worst film in the trilogy, because it's literally just half the entire 2-hour runtime, slightly over 2-hour runtime, 123 minutes, is just half of a book as not the interesting parts of that half, and they leave out a lot of important stuff, like the training for Katniss to go on, and they just abandon Joanna as well. The friendship and the bonding over trauma that they go through, they just don't show it. They just gloss over. We don't see Joanna again until the end of Mockingjay Part 2, which of course is a far superior version, far better for the movie. So, and then of course I do have 2023's The Hunger Games: Ballads of Songbirds and Snake, which I love, both the book and the movie. However, the movie really does gloss over, leave out a lot of stuff. There's an important character in this that is just completely ignored after she gets bitten by a snake. The whole leading up to the betrayal of Sejanus, for Coriolanus, is left out. But aside from that, it was exactly how I imagined it in my head as I was reading. So very few movies get that. And then of course I do have the first Highlander, There Can Be Only One, a film that I watched for the first time in 2023. And I loved it because I grew up, on the Highlander TV series, but I've never seen the movie. So I still have yet to continue on with the movie franchise, which I'm sure I will do at some point. But that is the end of stack 4. Time to go grab stack number 5. Okay. A film that I definitely want to give a rewatch this year is Hancock, because I seen it in 2009, 2008. And I remember liking it, but that's when I was in my preteens. So I definitely need to give this another watch through just to see. Um, Next up is a phenomenal film that I remember watching as a kid, and that is How the Grinch Stole Christmas, specifically the Jim Carrey one. Because I did eventually go and watch the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which I reviewed last December, which I did not like. But this is apparently a Blu-ray exclusive at HMV. Not sure how much of an exclusive it is because I bought this in 2023, and then when I went back up December of 2024, they still had this there with this exact slip and the exact same sticker on it. So I'm not sure how exclusive it truly is. Maybe it's just the slipcover that's the exclusive part to it. Getting into the Cornetto trilogy with Hot Fuzz, the best in the Cornetto trilogy. And then later on, as we continue on with the Blu-rays, we'll get to Shaun of the Dead and At the World's End. Moving on to Hook, another film that I remember watching as a kid. And again, it's been 20 years since I've seen it. And I really, really want to rewatch it this year for sure. And I know it's Pure Hangout's favorite movie. I'm not sure if it's his favorite movie of all time or just in his top 10, but I definitely know it is one of his favorite movies. Then we get on to Hotel Transylvania. I did not think I was going to like this. Because you see, last year, I set myself a goal, which I failed, with and that was to watch at least a new movie, to watch a movie every day for the year. And that failed 26 days in to that challenge. But the last ones that I watched before the challenge failed were the entire 4 movies of Hotel Transylvania, one a day. And watching the first one, I get it. I absolutely get why this is a beloved franchise, you know. I I grew up with Adam Sandler. I absolutely love him. I'm not a fan of Andy Samberg. I don't know what it is. He just does not sit well with me. Grew up with Selena Gomez in The Wizards of Waverly Place, as well as there are many other Disney Channel appearances. All that stuff. But it was a great movie, and I'm happy that I went through the franchise. However, the first one's the only good one. Because and the only reason I have Hotel Transylvania 2 is two reasons. One, the ending. The ending bit is the only good part to this movie. But the other reason is because it was a cheap Blu-ray. That is the only reason I actually own the second one. But yeah, they get progressively not great as things go on. Moving on to Inglourious Bastards, a film that I watched for the first time in 2023, and I really enjoyed it. For a Tarantino film, I definitely I get what Tarantino does for his movies. I just don't think he's the best director around. If you get me, he makes good movies, but the film bros have him so high on a pedestal. It's just not funny anymore. Back to Marvel, we have Iron Man 1, the movie that started off the franchise, which I absolutely love, and then of course we have Iron Man 2, which isn't as loved. The same with Iron Man 3, but I enjoyed it. However, I've still yet to watch Iron Man 3, so I definitely need to get around to that at some point. But moving on to two of my absolute favorite films that have absolutely nothing to do with each other, but they are just, that's where I have them stacked against each other. Obviously, we have I Am Legend, a movie that I absolutely love and adore. I remember seeing it in cinema when I was far too young to be even brought in. I was definitely well under the age of 15 at this point. I think it might have been 10. 10 or 11 at this point. So yeah, I was definitely underage, but I was accompanied by an adult. My cousin brought me to see this. And I'm happy that we are getting a sequel to this, I believe this year or next year. That is following at the time, it was the alternate ending that they shot first, before we got, the theatrical version. But that alternative ending is now the canon ending, and the cinema ending is now the alternate ending. My head hurts trying to wrap my head around that one. But the other one of my favorites is Interview with a Vampire, the only Tom Cruise film I'll ever watch. Simply, the reason being, I just don't like Tom Cruise, and around the time when he was heavily promoting Scientology, that, seeing all that crazy wackadoodle shit that the Fudge Packer done, is just, it's what turned me off him. However, he's a brilliant Lestat. Now, I haven't seen season 1 and season 2 of the Interview with a Vampire TV series, but I definitely love him in this. I love the other Lestat from Queen of the Damned. I thought he was good, but again, Tom Cruise is Lestat for me. I'm sure when I eventually get around to the Interview with a Vampire TV series, I might change my tune, but definitely, it's the only movie that I will suffer through Tom Cruise for, Tiny Tom Cruise. But then again, I probably will watch Rayman at one point, because I definitely want to watch that. So I'll have to put up with him for that movie. But yeah, anyway, moving on. That was a bit of a voice crack. But anyway, yeah, we have Inside Out, a film that I absolutely love and adore. I still have yet to watch Inside Out 2. I'll get around to that eventually. Probably I'll do a double bill, where I'll watch Inside Out 1 one day, and then I'll watch Inside Out 2. Next is AJ's favorite movie, from, AJ over at AJ's Movie Place, and that is Jaws, a film that I watched for the very first time in 2022. And again, it's one of those that now that I finally watched it, I was kicking myself for how long it took me to actually sit down and watch it, because I watched the documentary about the making of Jaws, and apparently I've got a loose disc. But I remember watching a documentary about Jaws and the making of Jaws, and Bruce the shark, which is that was a reference then in Finding Nemo for Bruce the shark in that one, which did not know that was a reference at the time. A film that I've seen bits and pieces of that again on RTE was Jumanji. So I don't recall if I've seen this in full, but this is I believe it says anniversary edition. So I'm not sure which anniversary it's celebrating there. Next is my favorite DreamWorks franchise. I still have to watch the fourth one, but the trilogy of this 1, 2, and 3 are perfect. I still need to get the third one on Blu-ray, but I am referring to Kung Fu Panda, the franchise that is far superior to the Shrek franchise. And yes, I will die on that hill. Kung Fu Panda 1 is a perfect movie. It is perfect from beginning to end. I love Tai Lung. He definitely could have been redeemed. But regardless, I love it. I remember seeing it in cinema. I then remember going to McDonald's afterwards, and of course getting it as a Happy Meal toy. I absolutely fucking love this movie. It's the best one out of the entire trilogy. Now Kung Fu Panda 2 is still absolutely amazing, don't get me wrong, and I do love it. It's just I spend more time with Kung Fu Panda 1 than I have with Kung Fu Panda 2 and 3. And at some point this year, I will, of course, review Kung Fu Panda 4. Moving on to a musical. I'm not much of a musical guy, but I did watch Les Mis, the movie version here, and I enjoyed it. It's definitely could have been trimmed down in certain places, but again, I get it. It's a musical. That there's the reason it's that long. Hugh Jackman was brilliant. The same with Russell Crowe. Eddie Redmayne is again brilliant. And I just love them all. I definitely do want to give it a rewatch at some point. I didn't mind the fact that it was a musical. I know for those who hate musicals, there does exist a non-musical version out there. But yeah, I love it. It was only like 50 cents for the Blu-ray. Next is the film that doesn't get talked about a lot anymore, and that is Lucy. I remember going to see this one in cinema when it came out in 2014 as one of the few movies that I seen that year, being Mrs. Brown's Boys the movie, which I don't own on Blu-ray, thank Christ. It was Lucy, then it was In-Betweeners 2, Dumb and Dumber 2, and Mockingjay Part 1, and Dracula Untold. So those were the movies that I went to go see in 2014. This was one of them, and I absolutely enjoyed it, and I loved it. And again, it's been 10 years since it came out now, so I definitely am due a rewatch. One of my favorite Disney movies, Lilo and Stitch. I'm happy to actually own this on Blu-ray. I'm pretty sure this is the only of the Lilo and Stitch movies on Blu-ray. And of course, we do have the live action coming out this year. So I definitely do want to rewatch this in preparation for the live action, because I'm actually looking forward to it. It's the only Disney live action movie that I'm actually going to give a shot. Obviously, I'm not going to go. I probably won't see it in cinema. I'll probably wait for it to come out on physical or streaming, and then I'll watch it then. Because I just don't feel like sitting in a cinema with a bunch of screaming kids. If I'm by myself, I did that for Mario. It wasn't that bad. I did that for Five Nights at Freddy's. It wasn't bad, but it could have been. But yeah. So I definitely do want to rewatch Lilo and Stitch. Moving on to the Lego Batman movie. Yes, the only Lego movie that I have. I did like the first Lego movie. I'm pretty sure I don't have the first Lego movie. Yeah, I don't have the first Lego movie. But I absolutely loved the Lego Batman movie. It's amazing. I definitely do want to give it a rewatch now that I'm kind of my love for Batman has been reignited since watching the Nolan Batman movies, as well as I've been watching a couple of Batman Beyond clips on TikTok, which by the time this comes out, will have been probably have been banned in the US. So whoops. But yeah, it's a great movie. I absolutely loved it. Movie documentary, Michael Jackson's This Is It. I haven't fully finished this. I've seen bits and pieces of it. So I remember this being like I remember him announcing the tour for This Is It. And we have a pretty thick book here, going through it. So yeah, I definitely do want to actually fully watch this at some point. Now we get on to a cheesy but lovable movie. I can't help it. It's cheesy. It's wonderful. I love the original 1995 Mortal Kombat movie. The theme music, the actors, how funny and awful and amazing it is. It's amazing. I love it. It's counted as a failed video game adaptation, but I don't care. I thought it was great. I still think it's great. I definitely want to rewatch it, have a look at the Blu-ray version of it. Because, I've watched it on VHS, I've watched it on DVD. Have not seen it in glorious 1080p. So that is definitely one I do want to watch. I tried watching the sequel to this, and I gave up halfway through. But again, I do love Mortal Kombat. And then the last one for stack number 5 before I have to go grab the stack number 6 is Man of Steel. Now this is another one of the slipcovers that I managed to save from CEX being thrown out. And I love it. I grew up more of a Spider-Man and Batman fan. I've mentioned this a few times. But the only times I really had any interactions with Superman would be the Justice League, or anytime he would show up in Batman the animated series, because again, I grew up in the early 2000s, so I grew up with the reruns of that, the same with Batman Beyond. But yeah, it was mainly the reruns of Batman Beyond and not Batman Beyond, Batman the Animated Adventures and Justice League that I grew up with for Superman. So I'm still not as familiar with, like, I'm familiar enough with Superman. And then of course there was the Forest Fire 101 Lego Batman videos that he made. That's how I got also I watched some Superman. Obviously those were comedy bits. But yeah, I've been wanting to watch that for a while. I got around to it, I think, last year, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great, and it's just a shame that we're not going to see much of Henry Cavill as Superman anymore. But like I said, I am looking forward to giving the new guy a shot for the new Superman movie that is coming out this year in July. And yeah, time for me to go grab the next stack. Why did that just start again? Okay, I have the final stack for the second alcove to go over. So we're now in the M territory, as we've seen. So starting off with a brilliant Irish film, Michael Collins. I watched this for a review. Is again one of the early reviews, I think, in 2022. And Liam Neeson done a phenomenal job. It's a brilliant Irish movie. Set leading up to the War for Independence, as well as the aftermath, the Irish Civil War that happened. And then of course the film does end with Collins' assassination. And is great. He done a phenomenal job. And I definitely will be rewatching this at some point in the future. Next we get to a trilogy of movies that I covered in the very first trilogy month, that being the Men in Black trilogy. I grew up on Men in Black 1 and 2. I love 2, at the time I loved 2 more than 1. But now that I, rewatch these for review, I definitely love the first one the most, because obviously it's iconic for a reason. Men in Black 2 is basically the first one, but through the perspective of what if it was Jay that had recruited Kay, and that's whole movie. But it's not bad. It's definitely not bad. And then we get to Men in Black 3, which I've only seen this twice. And the first time I watched it, I hated it. I thought it was one of the worst movies I'd ever seen. I didn't like it. And then I rewatched it for Trilogy Month, and I fell in love with it. I gave it a second try after a couple of years. And I definitely think this is the second movie, the best movie in the trilogy. No, Men in Black International does not count. I refuse to watch it. I've seen clips of it, and I'm like, haha, no. But yeah, again, another movie that I remember watching on RTE as a kid was My Sister's Keeper. And fuck me, does this ruin me. Now, I have no idea if I've seen this in full, but it's a phenomenal movie. There's the reason why it's well loved, and yeah, it tugs at your heart. It really fucking does. I'm not brave enough to give it another rewatch yet. Moving on to another childhood favorite of mine, being Monsters Inc. I remember watching this on VHS a lot. I have not watched it in 10, 20 years. So I definitely want to do that at some point. I wonder if there's disc art. There are, as the tray is broken. Whoops. Let me just fix that right up. Nope, come on, line up. There we go. And then disc 2 is bonus features. Cool. So yeah, I like I said, I grew up on this. I definitely think I want to give Monsters University another shot. Because I remember seeing it in cinema, Monsters University, not Monsters Inc., and not liking Monsters University. So I definitely do want to give it another shot at some point. But I definitely do want to rewatch Monsters Inc. first. Another childhood favorite of mine being Matilda. Again, it's been, I don't know, about 20 years since I last watched it. I'm not even going to bother with the musical. I can't be arsed. It's the original or nothing for me. Moving on to Madagascar, and I love the first one. The last, it's been 11 years, 9 years since I last seen this. And I remember loving it. It's great. And it does have disc art. But the funny thing about this is I remember going to see this in cinema with a childhood friend of mine and his father. And his father hated bringing us so much that he just flat out would refuse to bring us ever again after this. But then not long after this came out, maybe a couple of months later or something like that. I forget the exact time frame. But there used to be a lady that mom used to buy bootlegs off of bootleg DVDs. And one of them just so happened to be Madagascar. Specifically the exact version, the one that me and my friend went to see. And how I knew is because, back then, again, it was called Diamond Cinema. They used to have the fold out chairs. And I remember as a kid trying to position myself to sit on top of it, but without it folding. Again, I was a kid. And I seen my shadow, and I was like, hey, I remember thinking, hey, is that me? And I was like, oh my God, that is me. So it was a recording from when I went to go see this in cinema. Obviously, I don't have that bootleg anymore because it got lost, obviously, throughout the years. Then, of course, I also do have the third one, which I've only seen once, and I definitely want to give it a rewatch before I pass proper judgment on it. Because I remember when I watched it, I thought it was okay, but not great compared to the first and the second one. And then we get on to what used to be my third favorite movie of all time, being Nowhere Boy. This is a Beatles biopic that depicts, John Lennon reconnecting with his mother, as well as falling in love with rock and roll, and the formation of the Quarrymen, the original version of the Beatles, and then it ends with him heading off to Hamburg, Germany, with the Beatles. And it's a beautiful movie. I absolutely love it. It is done by Sam Taylor Wood, who then, of course, later go on to marry Aaron Taylor Johnson. So yeah, it's a beautiful film. The reason it's dropped down to my fifth favorite movie is simply because I just love The Truman Show and it's on the tip of my tongue, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But I actually don't have the art cards that come with it. I think it's in this picture book, which, yeah, because if there were art cards, I would have actually probably stuck it up on my wall. But yeah, anyway, that's that. Continuing on with Night at the Museum 2. I don't have the first one and I haven't seen the third one, but I remember thinking this was okay, but loving the first one. I definitely do want to get the first Night at the Museum on Blu-ray. I'll probably will get the third one to actually, properly watch it and rewatch them just to see has my taste changed growing up. Two movies that I remember watching that I definitely do want to rewatch is, of course, National Treasure and National Treasure 2, Book of Secrets. Amazing films that I wish got a third one with Nick Cage. I haven't even bothered to watch the TV show that doesn't have Nick Cage in it. Moving on to one of the best movies of 2023, that is obviously Oppenheimer, which I, of course, went to see. I did not do the Barbenheimer thing. I just went for Oppenheimer and loved it. Haven't watched it since. Kind of want to give it another shot, but I don't know if I want to sit through another 3 hours of the movie. It's great, don't get me wrong. And it was my first Christopher Nolan film before, I went back to watch the Batman movies. But yeah, now is my favorite Irish movie of all time, and that is Philomena. It is absolutely amazing. I loved it as a first time blind watch, after being recommended. Judi Dench done a phenomenal Irish accent, and her mannerisms. The entire time I was watching, like, I know someone who acts like that. Growing up with family that were similar to the way mannerisms for Philomena, it definitely resonated a lot with me. Next is a movie that I wish was a part of the Cornetto trilogy, and The World's End wasn't. Is Paul. Absolutely love it. Absolutely amazing. I remember going to see it in cinema. Still holds up. Next is the 2017 Power Ranger movie, which I remember going to see in cinema because I remember being absolutely hyped about this when it came out in 2017. And I've only seen it the once. I definitely want to get on that this year to actually properly give it another watch to see how it holds up, because it's getting a lot of praises now in the past couple of years when it wasn't when it came out. Moving on to a trilogy, and it's the only, and I don't count any of the movies that come after that, and that is Paranormal Activity. I tried to watch the first one for last October for Spoopy Month, and I gave up like after 20 minutes. But I still love the franchise. I love the second one, and I love the third one, the prequel, and that's about it. I won't touch any of the ones after that. Getting down to the last three before I have to go start a new alcove. And I only have two movies in this franchise simply because they're the only two that I like. That, of course, being Predator. So between 2023 and 2024, I went through at the time, 6 Predator movies. Predator 1, Predator 2, Predators, The Predator, and Prey. So I guess 5. Yeah, Predator, Predator 2, the Predators, The Predator, and Prey. Yeah, so 5. I'm happy that I did. However, it's only this one and the next one that I have that I really, really liked. The rest were just meh, and The Predator was probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen, without a shadow of a doubt. It had cool concepts, but it was just so fucking shit. But yeah, the first one is outstanding. Even the Blu-ray of it, I love the fact that it takes an hour before we get to see the Predator itself. We see it stalking them, and it's just absolutely amazing. And then the other Predator movie that I have in my collection that I loved was Predators. Fucking love this movie. I love the concept of it. I thought it was great. Adrian Brody was fantastic in it. And yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. And these are the only two that I want to own in my collection. Next we have Paddington. Again, when I was doing my trying to watch a new movie every day this of 2023, I did watch Paddington 1 and Paddington 2, just to see what the hype was about, because, I knew we were getting a third one, and I absolutely loved it. And then, of course, I watched Paddington 2, which, unfortunately, I do not own yet, and I loved Paddington 2. I've still yet to see Paddington in Peru, because, EU got it before NA. But, yeah, that's basically it for this stack, and I basically have 1, 2, 3, 6, 7 more stacks to go, and then we'll be finished. So we're not even at the halfway point yet, folks. We're not even at the halfway point, because once I finish showing off the movies that I have seen, then there's the movies that I have not seen to show off. Thankfully, that's not as big as the movies that I have seen. But yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there at the 80-minute mark for this video. Okay, new stack, starting off with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. This has no goddamn right being as fucking amazing as it is. Like, I remember watching it again at the start of last year for when I was trying to do the watch a new movie every day that last year, and I went into this thing and it can't be that good, It is that good, Like I said, it has no fucking reason being this good. The art style, the animation during the fight scenes is just perfect. Like, this is definitely one of my favorite movies that I watched last year for the first time, and so of course I had to pick it up for my collection. Next is a film I've only seen once, and I remember enjoying it, and that is Pixels. It's not a bad movie, but again, it's been 10 years this year since I last seen it. So obviously, it comes with a slip. Then I also have Detective Pikachu, which I definitely want to rewatch, because I haven't seen it since it came out in cinema. I remember loving it. As a massive Pokemon fan who grew up with the franchise, I really, really loved it. Seeing all my favorite Pokemon in live action like that. So yeah, this is definitely one I want to give another shot this year. A absolute classic, in my opinion. A classic comedy being Role Models. This was a movie that I have watched countless times growing up. I love everyone that's in it. Paul Rudd, Sean William Scott is amazing. The kids in this are amazing. Just the whole plot around it, and them trying to do well. This is I think this is was my proper introduction to Kiss, like their music. Obviously, I knew who Kiss was growing up, but just never had listened to any of the music until I got around to watching this. So yeah. Next we have Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which I believe this is the first one in the trilogy, which I have seen, and I definitely want to watch it another time. It even has an ad for the movie In Time coming to rent soon, because this is a rental copy, which is cool. Moving on to the Rocky films, where I only have 2 of them on Blu-ray, and that's just simply because if I want the others on Blu-ray, I'll have to buy a Blu-ray box set, I believe, because that's the only way to get them on Blu-ray, unless I buy the 4K, but I have no intentions on collecting 4K. But obviously, last year I finished up my reviews of the Rockies. In 2022 I started them, and in 23 2023, I started my reviews for the Rocky franchise, and then I finished it last year, and so I only have the 3 Creed films left to watch. So obviously I love the first one, and I really enjoyed Balboa. Though I definitely say 5 is probably my second or third favorite out of the 6. That's again not including the Creed films because I still have yet to watch those. My first boutique label and my only boutique label Blu-ray that I own is RoboCop, which again, this was a first time watch for me last year because I grew up on the TV show, the reruns of the TV shows in the early 2000s. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I definitely do want to give the other RoboCop movies a shot, including the 2014 remake that they done. Now we get on to Star Trek, so not going to spend too long on these because I already did that when I done my entire Star Trek collection. So we'll just quickly go through these. We have the motion picture. We have the Wrath of Khan director's cut. Then as well we have The Search for Spock, which has my ticket from last year when it came back in cinemas for the anniversary. So yeah. Then of course I have The Voyage Home, the movie that got me into Star Trek. Then we have The Final Frontier, which isn't as bad as people say, and then of course The Undiscovered Country to end off the original series. And then I have this big box set for all the other of the next gen movies, because I thought that was a nice addition. And then of course I have the Kelvin movies with the slip for Star Trek 09. I even have a steelbook for Star Trek Into Darkness, which was a kind gift sent to me by AJ over at AJ's Movie Place a good while ago. And then finishing off the Star Trek movies on Blu-ray is Star Trek Beyond. So again, I have a dedicated video going through my entire Star Trek collection, but because they're here for the Blu-rays, I'm going to do that. However, when I go to show off the TV show side of my collection, which will be probably the next video after this, I won't be showing the Doctor Who TV shows or the Star Trek TV shows, because that's all done in a separate video. And then the last one really for this stack is the not so complete saga of Star Wars, which has episodes 1 to 6, and in this little box set, before the sequels came about. And inside is my ticket to see Phantom Menace when it came back for the 25th anniversary, which I got a free poster, and that is stuck up on the wall as well. So yeah, there's disc 1 is the Phantom Menace, disc 2 Attack of the Clones, disc 3 Revenge of the Sith, disc 4 A New Hope, disc 5 Empire Strikes Back, which, in case you don't know, I really do not like Empire. I think it's definitely the worst in the original trilogy. Then we have the next disc being Return of the Jedi. And then we have some special features. So disc 1, bonus features for episodes 1 to 3, archives. And then with 3PO on it. Then we have bonus disc 2 for episodes 4, 5, and 6, the archives. And then lastly, for R2, we have disc 3, bonus disc, documentaries, and spoofs. And that's all that is on this collection. So now, of course, I need to go pause this whilst I go grab the next stack. Okay, so continuing on in the Star Wars universe, we have Rogue One, which I don't know why I actually put it here, considering the fact that I have not seen this. So I'll actually need to go fix that, but I'll of course do that off camera. And then of course we do have the sequel trilogy being The Force Awakens, which is okay. It's basically just a New Hope remake. Then of course we have the ever controversial The Last Jedi, which I actually really enjoyed. Yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I really actually ended up enjoying the entire sequel trilogy. Now that I actually give it my own shot, and what didn't pay attention to a lot of the hate that this gets, and I know I'm probably going to get like some hate for saying that, but again, I did do the sequel reviews in the last trilogy month that I'd done, which was back in November. So if you want a full in-depth review for my thoughts and opinions on The Last Jedi, that is where you can find it. The same with The Rise of Skywalker. It's not as bad as people are saying it is now. A lot of people cite this or Last Jedi to be the worst in the franchise. I would disagree. I definitely think Attack of the Clones is the worst in the franchise. Moving into the domain of Spider-Man, I of course have the first movie in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, which again I did cover in the most recent trilogy month last November, and I forgot how much I really love these movies. Specifically the first one, I would definitely say out of the entire Sam Raimi trilogy, this is my favorite. I absolutely love it. It's so nostalgic for me. It's the first movie I remember seeing in cinema, as a kid. Then of course we do have Spider-Man 2, which is as good as the first one, but I still prefer the first one over Spider-Man 2. Again, if you want to know my in-depth thoughts and opinions on this trilogy, go check out the trilogy month. For that, it'll be in my movie reviews playlist. Then, of course, we have Spider-Man 3, which is not a lot of people's favorite. I really like it. I don't have the issues that I have with others. The fact that it's overbloated with villains. Not really. To tell you the truth, the Hobgoblin isn't really in it for much as a villain. He's there for like less than 10 minutes before he gets the knock to the dome and forgets. And even when he does remember, he's not really in the Hobgoblin outfit. And then there's Sandman. He's kind of more of the actual villain of the movie, because the Peter's hunting him down to get revenge on Uncle Ben's murder from the first movie. And yeah, it's definitely a lot better than what people claim it to be. So yeah, that's just my my opinion on that. Again, I do have a full in-depth review on it. Then we get to the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies with Spider-Man Homecoming, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I thought it was really great. Then of course we have Far From Home, which is okay. It's not that bad. I definitely do want to give it another rewatch because I think I've only seen it the once. And then the same with No Way Home, because I definitely do want to give this another rewatch, because the version I seen of this, I didn't go see it in cinema, or I didn't even watch it on Blu-ray. I watched someone's filming inside the cinema quality of the movie, and it sucked because they would jump ahead ages and then it would double back to for whatever reason. So it kind of ruined that experience for me. Don't get me wrong, it's still a great movie, but I definitely do want to revisit that just so I can have a better take on it. So maybe for another trilogy month, but we'll see. Next is the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes, which I do remember seeing 80% of this movie. I'm not 100% sure, but I do have this lenticular for it. Then we have the Super Mario Bros. Movie, the most recent one, and I loved it. I thought it was really great. It took you got used to Chris Pratt as Mario pretty quickly. I still think he was a horrible cast for it. The same with the Garfield movie that came out last year. That was also another really horrible cast one. But yeah, I got used to it, and it's a pretty good movie. It really is. Granted, I haven't seen it since I've seen it in cinema. So I definitely do want to give it another shot. at some point, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do for the sequel that we know is coming. So yeah, next we get to Shallow Grave. Now this movie I remember seeing in film school. So in case you don't know, for an entire year I did go to film college. I studied film production, and this is one of the movies that we watched, and I fell in love with it, because it has two of my favorite actors in it, Christopher Eccleston, prior to him getting the role of the Doctor, several years before that. So it's also weird looking at him with a full head of hair instead of the usual shaved parts that I'm used to from watching this series one of Doctor Who. And Ewan McGregor again prior to him becoming Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it's just a brilliant, absolute brilliant movie, and I love it. I haven't seen it since, so again we're talking now late 2016, early 2017. So I definitely do want to give it another shot, but I instantly fell in love with it. The only Shrek movie that I own on Blu-ray is Shrek Forever After, the final chapter, because we do know we're getting a fifth one. And I remember going to see it in cinema, and I remember being sorely disappointed with this. As at the time the cap off to the Shrek universe, as a big massive what if. But I do want to give it another shot, because you never know, I might change my opinion, just like I did with Men in Black 3, and a few other movies. But yeah, we'll definitely see on that one. Then of course we have Saving Private Ryan. Need I say more about this fantastic movie? It's been a while since I've seen it, and I definitely do want to give it another rewatch. But it is absolutely amazing, and it's one of my favorite World War II movies. Space Jam, a movie that I grew up on. Yes, I didn't even bother with the sequel, because it just looked so shit. But like I said, I grew up on this movie. I watched it a shit ton on VHS. And it's definitely is one of my favorite movies from when I was a kid that I used to love watching growing up. Getting near the end of this stack here, we do have Starship Troopers, which was a first time watch back in 2023, and I absolutely fell in love with it. Here we go again with another movie from the Cornetto trilogy, being Shaun of the Dead, with a parent exclusive only at HMV sticker there, which I'm assuming is just the slip, because underneath it's just your standard Amaray, so it's basically just the slip that's exclusive. Phenomenal movie. The Kickstarter to the Cornetto trilogy. I still prefer Hot Fuzz though, but it's definitely the second best in the four movies that they've done together. Lumping Paul in on that one. Next we have Schindler's List, a movie that I watched on my own time, because I'd never seen it before until 2023, I want to say. And there's a reason why this is beloved by a lot of people, and there's a reason it won so many Academy Awards. And it's a film that I've seen once, don't need to see again. It's that powerful of a movie, and it's not the only one that's like that for a World War II movie. We'll be slowly getting to that other one shortly. So yeah, it's definitely this one and that other one that I've seen it once. I probably don't need to see it again. It's that great of a movie that and leaves you speechless on that front. And again, Liam Neeson done a phenomenal job in that movie. Next we have Spy Kids 2, The Island of Lost Dreams. I love this movie. I love it a lot more than I thought I would, because again, it had been 20 years since I last watched it, and again, I did it for the most recent trilogy month. And I definitely think it is the best of the two. But maybe the first one kind of edges it out. It depends on the day. It's the only one that I have on Blu-ray, because Spy Kids 1 I own on VHS. I don't own Spy Kids 3D. So that's one that I do want to get for my collection soon. Next, we have The Theory of Everything with Eddie Redmayne. And I love this movie. I just watched it because, again, I like Eddie Redmayne as an actor. You know, I loved him in what one was it? The Fantastic Beasts series. There was another movie in my collection that I have that he was in. Les Mis, that I loved him in, and then of course I seen this and I absolutely loved him. And he wasn't such, you know, a big Hollywood actor. He would be my fan cast as the Doctor. Though he would kind of be more, he'd be kind of like Matt Smith if he ever were to play the Doctor. Just the way he is in a lot of these roles. But you know, playing Stephen Hawking was brilliant in this. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. You know, there's a reason there's all those stars on there. It's that great of a movie. Next we have Jim Carrey's The Mask, which again is another childhood favorite of mine that I grew up watching so much on VHS. And recently enough, when, you know, Sonic 3 was coming out, he did say if the script was good enough, he would want to return to this universe. But because, you know, we don't talk about the Son of the Mask in this house. The Son of the Mask does not exist. It's a terrible movie for a goddamn reason. But yeah, again, it's another one that I remember growing up on VHS a lot as a kid, and it's definitely one I do want to get in my VHS collection. And then the last one for this stack before I have to go grab another one is the first of the Bayverse Transformers movie. Now, I did not see this in cinema, but I fell in love with it. It's what reignited my love for Transformers as a kid, because I grew up on the reruns of, you know, G1 Transformers, as well as the movie. And then, of course, after this movie came out, I got heavily into Transformers, the animated series. That was that to me, that's my Transformers TV show. That I had a lot of the toys of as a kid when it came out. Because it was that popular, and I wish I still had them, and I wish I could get some more. But because of, you know, time has gone on, those are have become collector's items and are very, very expensive to get just from a quick look on eBay. But anyway, time for me to go grab a new stack. Okay, the last stack for the third alcove, as we're slowly getting to the end of this. I have about 3 stacks left after this. So yeah, moving on now to my third favorite movie of all time, and that is The Truman Show. I love this movie. It is peak perfection as a movie. You know, I have no notes, nothing bad to say about this movie. There's a reason it's a cult classic, and it's great to see, you know, Jim Carrey do something other than being, you know, like his normal comedic self, which he's in like a lot of the movies. So it just shows that, you know, Jim Carrey has range. Like I said when I was talking about Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, it's my this and that are my third and fourth favorite movies of all time. That's how much I love both of them. Another childhood favorite of mine growing up was The Scorpion King. Do I remember anything about it, you know, from watching it? No, I do not. But I can tell you when I bought this. So I bought this in the Hunger Games Steelbook 2 years ago. That's when I got it, and that's when I bought it. But yeah, you know, it's a great movie. That I definitely did enjoy. Next are a pair of films, that being the In-Betweeners movie, which apparently includes a extended cut. You know, I got into the In-Betweeners after I seen the second movie in cinema, which, you know, I thoroughly enjoyed. And so obviously I went back and watched the 3 seasons, so the 9 episodes. And then, of course, I went and watched this. And I definitely want to give the movies a rewatch. I don't think I can sit through the TV show. I just cringe that much. But maybe I can sit through the movies and give them another shot. Because like I said, I also have the In-Betweeners too. Moving on to The Wolf of Wall Street. It's a great movie. Very, very long. You know, but then again, it's a Scorsese. What do you expect? But it's it's a great movie for a reason. So there's not really much left for me to say about it. Next is The Wizard of Oz, specifically the 75th anniversary edition of the movie on Blu-ray. So yeah, I remember watching this as a kid. Remember bits and pieces of it, but obviously it's been back in the public eye because of the Wicked movie that came out last year. And then of course we're going to have Wicked Part 2 this year. So yeah, moving on to The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, a movie that I had to watch for my junior cert in school, my third year exams, because we were doing the book. So obviously, as we were doing the book, we were going to watch the movie, and it's a great movie. Based on the book. Moving on to The Mummy. I grew up on this. I absolutely love and adore it. It's the reason it's a much loved film, and I also do have The Mummy Returns. I'm missing, I think, the third movie in the franchise. So I'll just need to get that at some point. Then it turns out I do have the Lego Movie. For whatever reason, it's in T for the Lego Movie, compared to the Lego Batman Movie being in L for Lego Batman Movie. So I'll definitely need to change that after I finish filming. So that's going to be fun to sort out. Next is The Social Network, a movie that is a masterpiece, and it got recently added into, I think, the film archives, because it's such a great movie, it's such a great biopic, and it's one of my favorite movies for a reason. And even when I introduced it to a friend of mine who'd never seen it, he eventually went and watched it, and he instantly fell in love with it for how great it is. And Andrew Garfield in it playing Eduardo is fucking amazing. I love the scene where he at the end of the movie where he just goes up to Zuck, picks up the laptop and breaks it, basically tells him to lorry the fuck up. That's one of my favorite scenes from the movie. So yeah, I definitely reviewed that in 2022, I believe. And now we get to a 4-movie quadrilogy, with apparently a 5th one also being in the works, which is weird because the 3rd one was supposed to be the end, and then we got a 4th one, and that one was supposed to be the fucking end. But now we're getting a 5th one, which we don't need. But I also have a very controversial opinion about the 3rd movie, which is Beloved, and I don't like it. So that being the Toy Story franchise. So again, I grew up on these. I grew up on Toy Story 2 the most, which is why it's my favorite in the 4 movies. But I love and adore these movies to the point where I do own both Toy Story and Toy Story 2 on VHS, because like I said, these were movies that I grew up on VHS, and so there's a lot of childhood nostalgia there for me. The same with Toy Story 2. I believe one of these is missing a disc. So it's looking to be Toy Story 2 is missing a disc. So yeah, there's it's actually missing the actual fucking disc itself, the proper disc. It turns out I only have the special features. What a way to fucking find out, because I thought it was the DVD that I was missing, but no, it's apparently I need to actually go buy a new copy of this, which I'm only after finding out now, and I've had this how many years? 2 years? About 2 and going on to 3 years now. Jesus fucking Christ. So it's a good thing I did this movie. It's a good thing I also have it on VHS, so that way because that's probably going to be my preferred way of watching it. Anyway, yeah. So Toy Story 3 is my least favorite in the franchise. I did go see it in cinema when it came out. Those emotional beats just did not hit for me, as I know it did a lot of people. And even when I rewatched it during the pandemic, so it could have been like 2021, 2020 to 2021, where I watched all four of them in one sitting. Um, I just I just didn't like it. So I've only seen it twice, but maybe when I cover it for Trilogy Month, whenever I do Trilogy Month again, I might change my tune, but I don't know. But the one that's liked the least in the franchise, Toy Story 4, is the one I like more than Toy Story 3. I thought it was a phenomenal movie. I really did. I have, no notes. Great movie. So I would definitely put Toy Story 4 above Toy Story 3. Then, of course, I have the Ted movie. I don't have Ted 2 because Ted 2 sucks. It's not great. But Ted 1 is, fucking hilarious. And of course, it then has a prequel in the Ted TV series where season 1 came out on Peacock and it absolutely blew up, which I have still yet to watch, but I have seen a ton of clips from it. I know that it is pretty great. And then it is getting a season 2. So I'll probably need to again watch it at some point. Next is a Blu-ray bootleg of Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny, because when I got this bootleg, it never had a Blu-ray, and then it did get a Blu-ray. Region 1 though, it's locked to America, unfortunately. But my bootleg holds up. It's in excellent condition. Excellent quality. I have no notes. It's pretty good. Next is the Polar Express, a film that I only watched. I watched twice. The first time was when in around when it came out on rental, and then last December for a review, and it's pretty good. I still like it. Getting down to the end for this stack here, we have The Shawshank Redemption, a brilliant movie that I can't add on to all the amazing things that's already been said about it. Next is Terminator 2, and now this does say the Ultimate DVD edition. However, I threw out the DVD because inside I'm keeping my actual Amaray of Terminator 2. Because it fits. If it fits, it sits. The old cat saying. And because I paid like €1 for this, maybe €1 or €2 for this. So yeah, I just got rid of the DVD. I'm actually looking at the DVD right now, and I have this now to hold my Amaray, and that's not the only one that I've done for that. We'll get to that. So I only have 2 Terminator movies on Blu-ray. T2 is one of them because, again, controversial opinion. I did not like Terminator 1. I liked Terminator 2. I enjoyed Terminator 3. I enjoyed Terminator Salvation. I absolutely loved Terminator Genesis. Like, I know, I hated the Terminator 1, and then I liked the remake of Terminator 1. Go fucking figure. I don't know what to tell you. I just really enjoyed it. And then I didn't like Dark Fate that much. They're not bad, but they could be worse. Then we have the Jungle Book. I love this, and I love the second one. I really do want to get the second one on Blu-ray soon. Because I watched mainly Jungle Book 2 on VHS a ton. I still have the video game that's based off of this, the dancing game called The Jungle Book Groove Party, which has some amazing original songs, because they only had a few licensed songs from this movie, but some of the songs that they came up with for the game is absolutely amazing. And then to wrap it up, I have for this stack is The King's Speech, a amazing fucking phenomenal movie. It's brilliant from start to beginning. Colin Firth is amazing, the same with Jeffrey Rush, both amazing actors in this movie. I love this movie so much, and it's been a while since I've seen it. So I definitely do want to rewatch that at some point, but I'll probably just do that on my own time. And now it's time for me to go grab the next stack, starting on the fourth alcove. Okay, getting close to the end now, even though we're about 2 hours into this video, but we're near the end of the movies that I have seen, and then when I get to the movies that I haven't seen, I'm just going to be, flying through them, because there's nothing really to talk about for movies that I haven't seen. But continuing on with the movies that I have seen, of course, we do have Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. Now, this, of course, is a special Transforming Case edition that they did do for all the movies. So, as you can also see there, it does come with a digital copy separately. So yeah, this is the case for Revenge of the Fallen. There's Optimus for the first one, and then Megatron for Dark Side of the Moon. And so it's pretty simple. You pull these up. You can pull his arms out like so. Though, there we go. That one was a bit stuck. And then you can pull the legs out. And then, let me just move that, and I'll stick it up to the wall there, and I'll pan up. So that is the Transforming Bumblebee case. I do want to get my hands on the others, but they are kind of hard to come by. Now, of course, I know eBay is my friend and all of that, but where's the fun in just going straight to eBay to buy them? I want the thrill of the hunt. I want to find them out and about. And then, of course, on the back of him here is where the special features and the film are being stored. And there he is now, back in his transformed state. Now, obviously, the box that it comes in, that I have here, is not in the best of conditions. But I'm fine with that. I'm happy enough with that for my collection. And then, of course, to round out the Transformer movies of the Bayverse, because I know there was 2 more after this, but I don't have them in my collection because I don't want them in my collection. So we, of course, have Dark Side of the Moon. I actually, going back to Revenge of the Fallen there, I remember actually going to see that in cinema. And I know Revenge of the Fallen isn't well looked upon, but I remember liking it as a kid. I didn't see all the inherent problems that, people saw with it when it came out. Because again, I was a kid. But anyway, moving on to the Simpsons movie. It has been quite a while since I actually last seen this, and I do, of course, remember going to see it in cinema. And so, yeah, I definitely want to rewatch it, because when I did eventually get it on DVD as a kid / preteen, I did end up, obviously rewatching this a ton growing up. So I definitely am due for a rewatch of that soon. Next is The Lion King. I'm 99% sure I have seen this, but I have zero recollection of it. Because I could have been, two or three when I watched it. Not very young enough to actually form lasting memories at that point. So I could have seen it then, but I have no memories of it. But then we get to the last of the Cornetto trilogy with The World's End. I really don't like this, and a lot of people don't like this, because it's, compared to Hot Fuzz, compared to Shaun of the Dead, it doesn't hold a candle to them. It's still good in its own rights, but I don't know, it just didn't do it for me the 3 times that I have watched this. 2 times on my own, and then when I did the first trilogy month, I want to say. No, sorry, this wasn't even, I didn't cover these for trilogy month. I did these as just one-off random reviews. So, yeah, even then I didn't like it. Next is DreamWorks The Croods. I like this. I haven't seen it in about a decade, but I remember liking it. I'll just have to get back to it eventually. Next up, we have The Sorcerer's Apprentice, with Nicolas Cage and Jay Brusiel. I probably have butchered that. But I remember liking this movie when I watched it randomly as a kid. But again, it's been over a decade, so I do want to give it another shot, because I think this is a remake of the original film. I could be wrong though. I'm not entirely sure. The only Hangover movie I have in my collection is the first one, because I only like the first one. I've tried watching Hangover 2 and I just can't get through it. So this was, for the time that it came out, it was brilliant. It was amazing. Did not need a sequel. Did not need a trilogy of movies for this franchise. They should have just stopped with this one, but obviously, cash cows and all that stuff. So that's why it got a second and third movie. Next is a brilliant Irish movie called The Guard, with Brandon Gleeson and Don Cheadle. It's a brilliant film for what it is. Brandon Gleeson is amazing as a Gardaí. That to be fair, he does make a lot of racist remarks. But it's like not in a I'm being racist way. It's just probably rural Ireland type of way. But yeah, regardless, it's still a fun movie. Of the kind of the reverse of a buddy cop film where the two hate each other type of way whilst trying to solve a drug crime and all that. Then next, it's the only Lord of the Rings film that I own in my collection, and that is Fellowship of the Ring. And I'm talking specifically Lord of the Rings here, not The Hobbit. So why the Fellowship? And this, of course, is the extended edition. And why not the other two? Well, because again, last year for the first trilogy month, I finally sat down and watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And how, not the extended edition, I only watched the theatrical edition, because fucked if I was for my first time watching 9 hours of 3 movies. You'd have to shoot me first. So that way I couldn't run away. But I enjoyed them. Fellowship is my favorite though. That's why it's the only one that I own. Going back to the beginning of this video where I only have Aliens in my collection, it's because it's the only one that I've seen that I've enjoyed. So whenever I do decide to come back to this, I might just watch the extended edition. But it seems here it's been spread out over 2 discs. Fun. But yeah, no, I definitely prefer Fellowship. As I said, and when I done it in Trilogy Month, how I'd rank it is I'd rank Fellowship, Return of the King, and The Two Towers as the worst, in my honest opinion. And I know that upsets a lot of people, even my own family that are big Lord of the Rings fan. As soon as I mentioned that The Two Towers is the worst in the trilogy of movies, that's when I get, oh, you're wrong. It's the best movie, So I do get it from my own family. Moving on to one of my favorite movies of all time. I definitely now would put this in my top 10. Because the more I think about it, the more I love it. And that is The Karate Kid, which, as of filming this, just celebrated its 40th anniversary. And of course, next month we are getting the finale of Cobra Kai, the last 5 episodes. And then in May of this year, we will be getting the new Karate Kid movie, Karate Kid's Legends, which after watching the trailer for that, I'm so hyped for. But aside from that, this movie, even though it does have a second and a third movie, and it is integral to the Cobra Kai universe, though I didn't watch the second and the third movie until after I started watching Cobra Kai. You can just watch this and then jump straight into Cobra Kai and you'll be fine. Because it kind of does explain, the recurring characters as such, for you to then want to go out and, check out part 2, which, to be honest, as much as I do love the first Karate Kid movie, Karate Kid Part 2 is definitely my favorite. And I love this movie so much that I have it on 3 different formats. I have it on VHS, I have it on Blu-ray, and I have it on DVD as a part of box set with all the other Karate Kid movies at that time, until the 2010 Karate Kid movie with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan, which is now, I guess, is canon to the Karate Kid universe, since they, these two are going to be, meeting in the new movie, which I'm definitely looking forward to, and I will probably want to rewatch the movies prior to that, going into watching the new Karate Kid movie, the 5th Karate Kid movie. Yeah, there's been 5, and yes, I am, of course, including the next Karate Kid in that regards, because I actually liked it. I thought it was pretty good. But I'll get to that when I show off my DVD movie collection. Anyway, moving on to Team America World Police. I fucking love this movie. I obviously watched it when I was way too young. And I fell in love with it. And it's by Matt Stone and Trey Parker, so two absolute geniuses when it comes to comedy and the fucked upness of things. So I'm very happy to own this in my collection. I haven't watched it in a while, so I definitely want to give it a rewatch. So I'm happy to have it on the Blu-ray. Next up is The Greatest Showman. I was meaning to watch this for the longest time, and it wasn't until Christmas Eve of 2023 that me and my aunt sat down and watched it, because she loved this movie, and I've never seen it before. And I enjoyed it. I liked a lot of the music, because when this movie came out, the music for this was all over the place. And I'm not a musical guy. I always say that the two best musicals of all time is South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, and Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny, followed by Les Mis and then The Greatest Showman. That's just my uncultured opinion. But yeah, at the end of the movie, my aunt was crying, and I remember looking over and laughing at the fact that she was crying. Just that's just that relationship that I have with my aunt. But yeah, I definitely do enjoy this movie, and even though I've only seen it the once, but I definitely do want to give it another go around, because I do love Hugh Jackman. Now, when I talked about Schindler's List early on, if you remember, because I'm filming these clips on different days, I mentioned there was 2 movies that I've watched, I loved, they're masterpieces, and that I would never watch again. Schindler's List being one of them. This is the other one, The Pianist. This I discovered on random on TikTok, because there was a clip that was surfacing about this towards the end of this movie, and it got me intrigued, because I kept seeing. Well, no, sorry, it wasn't TikTok; it was Facebook. And I just never knew the name of the movie until TikTok pointed it out to me, and then I seen that my local CEX had a DVD copy, and so I went and purchased it, and that night I watched it, and I can tell you now, within the first half hour of this movie, I was so close to crying. And then by the time the movie finished, I was left speechless for several hours. That's how impactful this movie was on me. And that's why it is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love Adrian Brody because of it. It's just a masterpiece of a movie. It says right there, it is a masterpiece thanks to GQ. But it's a movie, I've seen it once. I never will probably watch it again. That's just how powerful this movie is. And I love it that much. Going to lightheartedness now, we have Thor Ragnarok, because I've only seen 2 Thor movies, and that is this one and Love and Thunder. I still have yet to watch the first 2, though I'm sure people will say, oh, you can just skip the Thor The Dark World, and I still have my receipt for when I purchased this. When did I buy this? This year. Back in August? No, sorry, October. Yeah, October of this year is when I finally got around to adding this into the collection, so I'm still missing Love and Thunder. Getting to the end of stack number 1 here, we have Van Helsing. a movie that, you know, it has a cult following. I'm part of that cult following because I absolutely love and adore this movie. Because again, I grew up with it. You know, I grew up watching this movie so much so that, you know, I remember one time one of my friends was staying the night, one of my childhood best friends, and we had watched them. You know, obviously, you know, I fell asleep, and then at some point he fell asleep, and I remember waking up in the middle of the night to the DVD menu because, you know, that's what happens with back in the day with DVDs. You know, they would after the movie ends, it loops back to the menu, and then after a while of of no activity on the menu, it then launched back into playing the movie. So that's just a memory that I have with this movie. Of course, I have reviewed it, and I back in 2022, I want to say, back when I used to script my reviews just my movie reviews. I still do script some videos nowadays. But next we have V for Vendetta. This was another one on my backlog. I'm glad to have taken care of it because I really enjoyed this movie. I thought, you know, it was amazing. I went in with some expectations, and those expectations were massively exceeded. And yeah, like I still do want to at some point read the comic book that this movie is based off of. But aside from that, this movie is absolutely amazing. And I'm so glad that I finally got around to watching that movie back in I want to say 2023, but I could be wrong. But anyway, moving on to my favorite Disney Pixar movie, and that is WALL-E. I remember actually going to see this in cinema, and then I remember that Christmas because I went to go see it with my dad. Is one of the few movies that I remember seeing with him, and we went out to McDonald's afterwards. But then that Christmas, you know, I remember getting the WALL-E DVD, which I would watch repeatedly, especially the the intro bit, and then of course the extra Burn E, which I absolutely loved. I thought that one was hilarious. And yeah, when I rewatched it for a review, it still holds up. It's definitely one of my absolutely favorite Pixar movies. Like, there's just no beating it, in my opinion. Next we have is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the OG, the original. And I love this movie. I really do. And how I got introduced to this, I remember it well. I got it from the library. We borrowed it from the library. I think it was the VHS of it at the time. And so that's how I got introduced to this movie. And I absolutely loved it. Now, granted, I haven't seen it in 20 years. I definitely do want to do that at some point. But I absolutely love this movie. And, you know, it's a reason it's everybody's favorite interpretation of it. Now, that's not dishing, Wonka or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But, you know, there's a reason this is the best version of it. So getting to the last two in this stack here as I have to sneeze. Okay, just sneeze. The next up is the X-Men trilogy. Again, I grew up on these movies. I remember watching them as a kid. I can't remember if I've seen them in cinema, to be completely honest with you. I'm sure when I get around to rewatching them, because I probably will for a trilogy month, those memories might come flooding back in. But I definitely remember watching them. And moving on to the last one for this stack before we wrap up. There's still 3 more movies from the movies that I have seen section before we get into the movies that I have not seen. So again, those will be rapid fire. But we have Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie. I love this movie. This again was one that I remember watching so much on VHS. And it still holds up. You know, I still find it to be the best of the Yu-Gi-Oh trilogy that we have, though there is one that I would say is slightly better. And of course I will get to that now in a second, but I do love this movie. And I'm glad to actually own it on Blu-ray, because I wasn't sure if it even had a Blu-ray when I started collecting, because this movie, not this exact Blu-ray copy, but the DVD copy of Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie is actually what kick-started my obsession with collecting movies 3 years ago, nearly 4 years ago now. So yeah, this was the catalyst. This was the straw that broke the camel's back for that. But yeah, time for me to go grab another stack. Okay, so next is another double pack, and that is for Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side of Dimensions and Bonds Beyond Time. So let's talk about Bonds Beyond Time real quick. It's just a glorified OVA. It was released to celebrate the 10th anniversary, but it also sucks. So, it's not great. However, Dark Side of Dimensions is the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie we've ever gotten. It's just absolutely beautifully animated compared to, you know, the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie, and it's just far superior in every way. Next we have Jim Carrey's Yes Man, a film that I stumbled across randomly and absolutely fell in love with. I love the concept. I thought it was great, and I definitely do want to give that a rewatch at some point. Next up is Zombieland, and the last of the movies that I have seen. From here on out, after this one, we get to movies that I have not seen. But yeah, it's a great movie. The sequel should have happened far sooner than it did, because I really do not like Zombieland Double Tap. But I did do a review of that last Halloween. Now, like I said, we are on to the movies that I have not seen. Starting off with the James Bonds, we have Casino Royale, we have Quantum of Solace, we have Spectre, and then we have Skyfall. Not really much to say on those, because again, I haven't seen them. The same with 21 Jump Street. Asterisk on that, because I have seen bits and pieces of it from secondary school, but not it in full, which is why I put it there. Put it in the movies that I haven't seen. But I definitely have not seen 22 Jump Street, except for that My Name Jeff's meme that spawned from it. Next is probably the most expensive Blu-ray in my collection that I'm aware of, that I found completely at random in a charity shop or thrift store for so cheap, and that is 28 Days Later. Now, by the time this video comes out, it's obviously going to be on FOD, video on demand, finally, which is why this racked up such a high price. And then, of course, we are getting a new movie called 28 Years Later, I think this year. But yeah, I found this for €2 in a charity shop, and last time I checked is about worth maybe 30 or 40. So yeah, next is a sealed Blu-ray, and that is Amelie. Again, this is one that I have heard some good things about, but I did not pay $9.99. I paid, I think it was €2 or €3 for this sealed Blu-ray. That is still sealed and will probably stay sealed until I decide to go watch it. Next up is American History X. I've heard great things about it. I do want to check it out at some point in the future. Next is the first Blade movie. Again, I'm pretty sure I've seen bits and pieces of this, but not enough for me to actually put it into movies that I have seen. And that is the same for Batman Returns. Again, looking at the back here, I'm 99% sure I have seen most of this on RTE as a kid, but I don't think I've seen it in full. My memories aren't fully there for it. Next, we have the first Creed movie, which again I have not seen because I only just finished the Rocky film, so I'll definitely be covering it this year. The same with Creed 2. I still need to get my hands on Creed 3. Next is another multi-pack for Dragon Ball Z, Tree of Might, and Lord Slug. Yeah, I just have not seen these movies. I've seen the abridged version, obviously, but I'm not counting that until I've actually sat down and watched the movies themselves. The same with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I've only seen Rise, have not seen Dawn, I have not seen War, and I have not seen the newest one. That's going to kickstart the new trilogy. Next is First Blood, Rambo. Yes, the very first Rambo movie I have not seen. I'll get around to it eventually. The same with Gladiator. Have not seen, will get around to it eventually. Two more for this stack before I go grab the new one, being iRobot. I've seen bits of this, but not enough to know if I've seen it in full, based off of my memories. But Inception, I definitely have not seen, and it is a thick boy for this. We've got three discs for it, but have not seen Inception. Now it's time for me to go pause whilst I grab the last stack for this alcove, and then it's only really just two more stacks to go. Okay, again, rapid fire through these because I haven't seen them. Kingsman, The Secret Service, have not seen, but I probably will watch that very, very soon. Next is Kill Bill Volume 1, as well as Kill Bill Volume 2. I have some memory of this, but not enough of it to say if I've seen it fully or not. Next is Kick-Ass. The only reason I actually got this was because of the cool lenticular effect that we have on the slip here, and it was a cheap pickup. Next is The Matrix. Yes, I have not seen The Matrix. Gonna be honest, probably never will. Probably will end up just trading in this Blu-ray copy. Because I just don't care for it, I know the premise of it, and it just does not interest me at all. Next is No Country for Old Men. Again, have not seen it. The same with the OG Planet of the Apes. I've seen the ending bit of it, of course, because it's, a 60... when did this come out? Like, the 60s? So, of course, the ending is going to get spoiled on me at some point. Then, of course, I have this really cool edition of Reservoir Dogs. Again, have not seen it, and it's kind of in the style of a gasoline canister. And if I take off the top here, and do this, the actual bit to hold the movie is in the style of matches, and I do have the art cards that come with it still sealed. So yeah, I thought there was a cool addition to own in my collection. I think I paid like €20 for this. Moving on to Seven. I've only seen the intro bit in this in college, but I have not seen it in full. Let me just move over to the side here. Stand By Me. Again, another one that I have not seen. But funny enough that both Will Wheaton and Jerry O'Connell have both starred in Star Trek. Will Wheaton as Wesley Crusher and Jerry O'Connell as the voice of Commander Ransom. Now, Captain Ransom at the end of Lower Decks. Then we have Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I do not like Michael Cera. I'm going to be honest with you there. I really do not like him at all. The only reason I have this, and it's the only reason I'm going to even entertain this movie, is because it's an Edgar Wright film, and I love Edgar Wright. So obviously, because it's an Edgar Wright film, I'm going to have to watch it. But as soon as I watch it, it's getting got rid of. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which is another sealed Blu-ray that I got in a charity shop for €1. Then next is The Usual Suspects. Again, have not seen it. The same with The Green Mile, and I keep meaning to. Every time I pre-plan reviews for the past couple of years, I do put down The Green Mile, and then I just never get around to it. I will eventually, I promise. Next is a steelbook for Taken 2. I have not seen any of the Taken movies, so I definitely want to get about that. And then next is the start of the Hobbit movies, An Unexpected Journey, again on Steelbook. Then we get what was a trilogy at the time, and I think I've seen some of these, or seen them all, but I cannot remember for the life of me if I've seen them all. And that is the Underworld original trilogy. So that is Underworld, Evolution, and Underworld Rise of the Lycans. Again, I think I've seen the second one, the third one. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But I can say for sure that Underworld Awakening is one that I definitely have not seen. The same with War for the Planet of the Apes, like I mentioned. I've only seen the first one in that trilogy. And then lastly, for this stack, before we get to the very, very final stack and the final one of this video, we have X-Men First Class. Now, I've seen bits and pieces of this through school when it came out, but I have not seen it in full. So now it's time for me to go put these back onto the bookcase and grab the last stack of Blu-ray movies that I have not seen. Okay, time for the last stack. Again, these are movies that I have not seen, but these are ones I'll probably watch in my own time without doing a review for them. So starting off with is 300. Next is the live-action Alice in Wonderland, which came with this pretty cool box set for like dirt cheap. Next we have is 10,000 BC. Now this is the old 2-disc limited edition tin. However, this is something that you would get and then you'd have the DVD inside. However, I don't have the DVD inside. Obviously this is Blu-rays. I have the Blu-ray Steelbook. So yeah, I kept this tin for the Blu-ray Steelbook. So it, sits in there. It has, I think, been slightly banjaxed from, being shaken about. But the main reason I kept this is because it contains a film cell of basically that. And it came with a probably expired digital code. But that is the main reason why I kept it. And so, like with the steel case for Terminator 2, I done that for 10,000 BC. Next we have the animated Batman Gotham Knight, an original movie. Cinderella, again, I'm 99.999% sure I have not seen that, but if I have, I don't have the memories to prove it. Captain America, The Winter Soldier, everyone's favorite Captain America movie, I have not seen. Will probably not like it, knowing me and knowing how hyped everyone has this movie to be. Next is Dante's Inferno, a animated epic that's looks to be in the similar vein as the Dante's Inferno video game that came out as well, that I absolutely love. Next is District 9. Again, I've seen tiny bits and pieces of it, but have not seen it in full. Then we have E.T. But Michael, you haven't seen E.T.? I haven't. I've seen a lot of it, but just not enough, the whole thing, the whole movie, for me to justify saying that I've seen it in full. And, the same goes for Grease. I've seen a lot of it, but not enough to say that I've seen it in full. Next, we have the second Ghost Rider movie, Spirit of Vengeance. I am, again, 99.999% sure I've seen this, but again, the memory's a bit foggy on that one. Iron Man 3, I definitely have not seen. Then, of course, Marley and Me, haven't seen. Malcolm X, have not seen, but got it because I wanted to check it out. Pinocchio, again, I probably have seen it as a kid, but don't have the memories to back it up. Then we have Spitfire, the second of the Sherlock Holmes with Robbie Downey Jr. I have not seen it. Next is another Steelbook for Sweeney Todd, another musical that I have not seen. Then we get to Spider-Mans with The Amazing Spider-Man. I switched that off after 30 seconds. I probably do want to give it another shot. The same with The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Getting close to the very end here with Straight Outta Compton. Have not seen it, but do want to give it a watch because I remember being really hyped for that movie when it came out. Now, granted, I didn't grow up listening to, everyone on here, Dr. Dre, Easy, Ice Cube, all of those. I never grew up on it, but I looked at the trailer and it looked really cool, so that's why I wanted to see it. The Prestige, have not seen it. As I alluded to earlier, Thor 1 and 2, I have not seen, but know the gist of it. The last two here, we have The Jungle Book, the live action one, because I know there's two versions of it. So I think this is the best one from what I've heard. And then the last of my Blu-rays to show off that aren't in my TV show section or Star Trek, other Star Trek related stuff. Again, those will be have their own separate videos. Is The Woman in Black. I remember seeing the trailers for this and being interested because, again, that came out in around the time of Deathly Hallows Part 2. And I just never got around to it. But that is it. That is now all of my Blu-rays. All 300 plus of my Blu-ray movies has been shown. And I've just spotted a spider. That's fun. Anyway, that is going to wrap this video up. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I don't know if I have another video out at some point this week, but I will be back next Wednesday to show off my TV show collection, as we are getting very, very close to finishing off these collection showcases. I think there's only going to be two more after the TV show one, being my DVD movie collection and then my VHS collection, which will be not an hour-long video like the rest of them will be. But there's that so to look forward to. So yeah, thank you all for watching. If you made it this far to this over 2 hour video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you all next Wednesday for another collection showcase.